isn't even that amazing. It doesn't really do it justice. It's just I can speak more Geordie than I speak right now, you know? Google it, honestly. Googling it will probably give you the best result and allow you to really appreciate. What is this? I never know what this button is that brings the APM up. The EPM. I know what the APM one is, because then I always have to bring that one up before I can bring the EPM one down. Anyways, let's do this, guys. It is Stats versus Zest and PvP. Best of 3 in the quarterfinals. As to the top left, it is our red Protoss player from Splice, Stats. Going up against the blue Protoss to the bottom right hand side, this is Zest. We actually have good weather today in Stockholm, Sweden, says Kungulosman. That's good to hear. I mean, in the Netherlands it's also really sunny, so I decided to stay and build cosplay, says Argent and Lune. What cosplay are you building today, mate? Let me know. I'm interested. Rather live in Europe, hate America, says Damdex. It's okay over here. Don't come to UK though. UK sucks. It snowed here last night in Chicago. Wow, the differences around the world is crazy. Wardy, do you think you will be president one day? The president of StarCraft 2? Yeah, of course. Duh. Who else are they going to appoint? Like, Artosis? God, who even is that guy? How can one work his way to becoming an observer for the professional StarCraft community? That's a great question. And I don't really know. I imagine the way that, like, for example, Funker and Coker and Mapu became observers were that they sort of just did it for their own kind of smaller organizations like O Gaming or Take TV. And then when it came around to a point where one of, you know, WCS or so needed a observer, they got their names put forward and someone suggested them. So I guess you kind of just start out. I mean, it's really hard because not a lot of people are going to pay you to be an observer at a lower level because they just can't afford it. So it's kind of weird, I guess. Your best way would just be to network, get some connections, and be like, yo, I can be an observer. It's very difficult, though, I have to say. It's very difficult, I'm not going to lie. I don't know what you could... I actually don't really know the answer to that question, mate. I'm sorry. It's a very difficult role to get into, because it's a very hard role to get noticed in, because I feel like a lot of the time, if you're the observer for like an online event even, people are just going to be like, you know, he just doesn't really get noticed at all, right? It's a very, I can't think of the word right now, but it's a very, what's the word when it's a very thankless job, I suppose. That's not the word I wanted to use, but it gets the job done. Anyways, 2 adepts from Stats are actually going to run into the 2 adepts of Zest. Zest went double Stalker, double Adept, whereas it was double Adept, double Stalker from Stats, so slightly different ordering kind of means that maybe you try and do things a bit differently. It means that Zest is going to bring his Stalkers across the map somewhat aggressively. Both players have gone to a Stargate. Stats will build an Oracle, but a Phoenix on the way immediately here from Zest generally will give him the advantage in these early stages. As you will see already, Stats is maybe going to lose a pile on the low ground. He has a new one coming up here to wall off with, and he will build another one as well. So, knowing he's going to be supply blocked, he gets around it already. His Adepts are starting to come back home. Now, Phoenix on the map is going to miss the Oracle, so it looks like the Phoenix wants to try and join the fight. He runs into Stalkers though, and that's such a shame, because now the Phoenix turns around, and this Oracle is not really going to be able to do much at all. So we're just going to be seeing this Oracle coming in towards the main base, and we're going to see a couple of probes going down. And we are going to be seeing the Phoenix able to pick its way through the Oracle, and the Oracle will go down. I mean, a few kills. It's interesting though, because do you play the kind of Phoenix versus Phoenix matchup from here on out as Stats? Because you're already behind on Phoenix, and he is building Phoenix, so it looks like he might try to, but I just can't imagine it's going to be a good position for him, and I think he sort of feels the same. And that's why he's already thrown down the Twilight Council, realizing here that he just cannot realistically commit into the Phoenix play, because he's already just a little bit behind, because he didn't start Phoenix initially. He builds one Phoenix, and we are going to be seeing it coming down the right hand side. There's a couple of Phoenix of Zest. We'll be jumping into the main base and trying to pick up another couple of probes here and there. So there's going to be seeing the couple of workers going to start going down. What's up, Roddy, coming in for the big host? Hello everyone from Roddy's stream. You actually joined us just in time for some awesome Protoss versus Protoss action. We've had Stats all day basically on the channel, so if you've just joined now, you've missed Stats versus Gumiho versus Bly and versus Solar. This is now the round of 8 of the not the WardiTV, the Kung Fu Cup Weekly, a $500 weekly event. And this lineup is stacked. This is the quarterfinals. Stats versus Zest. We still have players such as Ryung, Patience, and others in the bracket. Bunny as well. It's going to be a great day of StarCraft 2 as we see one of those Phoenix taking down the recall. Thanks for this, host Roddy, and thanks for the 7-month resub as well. Hope you had a great stream, and hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to the channel. Alright, so we are getting into this and looking to see where the game develops. Again, I guess if you guys have just tuned in, you missed a little bit of an interesting opening, a little bit of aggression from Zest, and it was Stargate against Stargate. Stats got a couple of workers with his Oracle, but he's very quickly switched into Blink instead of trying to play the Phoenix game because he was slightly behind. But Zest identified that, and because of that didn't go mass Phoenix himself. He stopped at just a few, and instead now he's building up a robo facility in his own Twilight. But as you can see, there's a lot of stalks on the map from Stats, and he's looking as though he might try and get at least a little bit aggressive with the Blink. And why not, right? He's at that sort of position where he's going to have enough stalkers to poke at the front to maybe get some damage done, pick off a couple of units, blink away. It's such an easy thing to do as well, right? When you have the APM of someone like Stats, you have the control. You can definitely, there's no reason not to. It's one of the big benefits of having stalkers, to move across the map and to get aggressive and to be able to, you know, poke on in to pick off a couple of adepts, etc. So, for example, here we go. I'm going to get a great example of it, I think, as he pokes on forwards, and when the Mortal comes out, the shield battery keeps the adept alive, so this is going quite good so far for Zest, but obviously Stats drains the energy on the shield battery. Once that is gone, picking off units in the future becomes a lot easier, and especially that Immortal going to be taking some damage. A little bit more action coming in here. Guardian Shield will be popped, and we are just going to be seeing the Zard take a little bit of damage as well. And we are going to be seeing a couple of Phoenix. Just coming back down from Zest. Not really much 2 Phoenix can do, but I guess better at home to maybe lift up a couple of Stalkers if this becomes a much larger attack. As we do just have the Phoenix from Stats starting up. That's kind of interesting. So he's actually started up Phoenix of his own. That's so weird. I mean, I guess going into Phoenix of his own, he'll now aim to kind of lift up an Immortal post-Phoenix fight, and then maybe just win the game with the Stalkers? It's a very intriguing setup here. I mean, it's not what you would usually see. It's very interesting. I mean, obviously you can use this Phoenix to blink up into the high ground as well, or at least pick off a pylon here at the edge of the base. He will blink up, and again, he's got the Phoenix here to win the air fight and to lift up the Immortals. But at the very least, he can just kind of take a little bit of a fight and then back away. But that was a bad blink, and a few of these Stalkers getting stuck here. This was not the execution Stats was looking for. Now he's already lost a bunch of his Stalkers. Pushing back towards the natural is obviously going to be a bit more difficult. It's not going to happen. And that's going to be these few Stalkers of Stats just backing away over to the left-hand side. We see Phoenix from Stats continue to deal some damage, and we do see a couple of Phoenix of Zest are low, but somehow still alive. They've done a very good job of staying alive here, I have to say. This really wasn't what Stats was hoping for, and now he's going to be in a little bit of trouble, I feel, because there is the Immortals out here from Zest, and they go a long way to really doing a lot, and you can see as he dives in with the Phoenix, he won't get much done either. Doesn't even get the Prism, which he's trying to target, and Stats knows this game is over, because Zest is about to walk across the map, and Stats has lost so much in these attempts. Alright, so to the top left-hand side, we start with our red Protoss player. This is not the player who's brought it up, had the wrong score there, but got that fixed. To the top left, our red Protoss is going to be Stats. And of course, we haven't really seen much of this guy in the bottom right, just in general lately. Has been kind of lying low. Some would argue he's not as great as he used to be, but when he does show up, he shows up very strongly. And this is our blue Protoss player, Zest. I feel like he's kind of forgotten about amongst the hero and classic and Stats hype as of late, you know. Yeah, sure, Zest maybe hasn't been having the best of times. You know, he hasn't been looking as amazing as some of these other dudes, but, you know, he didn't do well, for example, at IEM. It's just, you know, he's just been one of these players that's gone under the radar a little bit in comparison to, let's say, Classic, who's been at WSG, IEM, you know, doing very well in these other events as well. You know, Stats just won GSL Super Tournament. Stats has just been lying a little bit low, hasn't been having those deep runs lately. But still as good as ever, it seems, taking the first game against Stats in a very straight-up game from himself, holding a lot of kind of weirder kind of strategies and a lot of weirder kind of builds here from his opponents. So, I mean, it's just sort of strange, right? Going back into the Phoenix, you can see what Stats wanted to do. Take the fight with the Phoenix, maybe kind of shut down a couple of Immortals, use the Stalker numbers to kind of overpower because the Immortals are taken out of the fight. But what went wrong? I mean, first of all, I feel like he didn't kill the Phoenix, so his own Phoenix kind of just like started lifting things. But then the Phoenix, the Phoenix of his opponent just kind of, did damage to them and then started to lift up some units themselves. Then when he tried to blink out of the main base, he actually ended up in this position where he lost like 5 or 6 Stalkers, and that was really just the continuation towards the end there. So that obviously really hurt as well. As we are just going to be seeing the probe here from Zest, just scanning around, seeing what's up and seeing what's going on. Stalker essentially coming in from stats. We're going to be seeing a couple of Stalkers from Zest as well. Slightly different openers, of course. The Sentry means that your tech will generally be later, and it generally tends towards a faster expansion because your tech is later because you've spent the gas on the Sentry, but also because you have the safety to kind of expand. You have the hallucination, you have a force field if things start to go wrong, and the hallucination is important because it allows you to scout what your opponent's going for so you can prepare to defend an expansion a bit more easily. So stats, with the 400 minerals here in just a moment, we'll pop that down. And he gets the Stalker out front, so this probe will not see for sure what's going on. This probe also didn't see the Sentry, so Zest is a little bit blind as to what exactly is happening at the moment. His own 2 Stalkers coming across, and he will get aggressive here. A 3rd gateway coming down means that he's going to continue to produce Stalkers. He's going to look to really bust on through in the near future. What is interesting is he doesn't build a proxy pylon even though. He could have built a pylon and a gateway across the map if he'd wanted to, if he really wanted to speed up warp-ins. Instead, he builds nothing, so Stalkers are going to have to be warped in at home and then come across the map, unless I guess now he brings the probe back around. Even then, warp gets done in, I guess, 30 seconds. Is still a little while away, so well, he will start getting some warp-ins, but Stats is playing so safely. He has the shield battery already set up. He's continuing to build units. He's got a bunch of Sentries as well. Just force fields defensively can really turn the tide of a battle as well here against these early numbers of Stalkers. There's not going to be a warp prism to micro them. They're not going to have blink to kind of blink across the force fields either, obviously. And so, while the damage output is not going to be quite there for Stats, he will have the utility to maybe tilt the fights into his favor. Warp Gate's just a few seconds away from Stats compared to Zest, and moving forwards, he's also got that shield battery too, which will keep units alive quite nicely. And with a couple of Warp Gates coming through, there'll be a couple of Stalker warp-ins to even up the numbers for now, although that's going to change very quickly, as there's actually going to be a triple Adept warping in here from Zest. Probe already in position from Stats to block the high ground entrance, stop those Adepts from just shading through in towards the main base. 2 more Stalkers showing up here, and that's now 5 Stalkers and 3 Adepts against, 3 Sentries and 3 Stalkers. First force field's pretty good to slow down the Stalkers, not amazing. The Sentries do, the Adepts, do commit to the shade. Pushing forwards here, Zest starting to make some progress. Stats has an Immortal out, but doesn't have it on the low ground yet. The next force field is amazing because it traps 2 of the Stalkers in, allowing the Immortal just come on through and to pick up a kill. Stats is going to hold this off, and Zest going to be in a little bit of trouble actually because his Nexus is much later. Although finishing up now, the word count is even. He drops double Stargate. Wow, dropping double Stargate down is kind of crazy. We see these Stalkers going to come back up and counter-attack in towards the natural. Going to try and see what else they can get done. So, pushing forwards here, going to be trying to pick off the probe or 2, and that's nice. And it pulls Stats back from a position where he probably wanted to get across the map and deal some damage. Nice recall as well. It just means that it's that sort of scenario where it's like, okay, well, this was completely free for me to do. And that's something we're seeing a lot more of, the attacking. It's like, oh my god, those units are going to die, but then you just recall away, and it's like, oh, well, actually, you just got so much more out of those units than you ever really should have done. And now they're back at home to defend as well if your opponent comes across the map. So it's really amazing just how powerful that can be. But what is also very powerful is the Immortal count here. 2 Immortals are going to pack quite the punch moving across. But double shield battery from Zest. He starts a Void Ray from one of his 2 Stargates. So 2 Stargates coming through, and we are going to be seeing continuing forwards. Stats will be looking to try and get a little bit of something. He's out Warp Prism as well. I like it. Going to add a lot of micro potential to this upcoming fight. And a couple of Zards just going to be warping in here, and well, Zest going to try and hold it at the front. But again, with 1 Void Ray already, Stats has the potential to take that Void Ray down. He has Guardian Shields, both players have Guardian Shields, and Sav, a lot of Force Fields. He actually Force Fields these units forwards, which is great. Remember that again, with the Warp Prism, you can essentially have like a blink play from the Red Protoss player. He can lift up those units and pull them back as needed. Again, it's kind of like blink for every unit, so it's really nice to have on your side. You're going to be seeing it used once again here, pulling some of those Stalkers, the Immortal back as it gets damaged. And just pushing forward, Stats still holds the army supply lead. Triple shield battery, a 4th one on the way through. Sentry saved once again last moment. Couple of force fields. I think one force field left is placed nicely to grab a couple of those sentries. Now we see the Void Rays starting to commit with prismatic alignment even, but Stalker's getting on top of them so quickly. And Zest is taking a lot of damage on those Void Rays. The shield battery doesn't heal it up in time. The second Void Ray here, now the shield battery targets it. A new shield battery shows up, but there's just not going to be the units left on the ground. The Void Ray has not done enough damage in time, and that looks as though it's going to be GG, because Zest just has nothing left. The shield batteries are great and all, but there's nothing left for them to actually repair the shields on anymore. As the probes pull in, that is indeed going to be GG. And PvP continues the way we've been seeing it go lately, which is very quick, very aggressive. To the bottom left-hand side, it is our red Protoss player. This is Stats from Splice. And to the top right-hand side, our blue Protoss player is Zest. What's up, Trotter1567 in the chat, coming in with the cheer 1 and the hello to you. Thanks so much for the cheer 1. Sorry I didn't get to it before the break. Just wanted to make sure we got it going quickly so we could jump right back into the action before this game got going, because sometimes the players do start very quickly. So off and away they go, as we look to see what's going to happen over the next couple of moments. So getting ready to go and looking to see what these players will bring us here in our third game of the day. I mean, this is the sort of position now where obviously it comes down to this. If you win this, you're already in the prize money, a couple of series away from $300. I mean, so much prize money on the line. It's kind of insane that this is a weekly cup. And again, you can also qualify into the Masters Coliseum if you're the highest place in Chinese play, I believe. It's really awesome. The Masters Coliseum is going to be a new monthly event again, I believe, which is $10,000 prize pool. And we're going to try and see if we can get some coverage of that on the channel as well. I think we covered 1 or 2 days of it before. It's usually covered by Tenchi, but I think we might be able to snag ourselves a spot in the lobbies to bring you guys some of the action from that as well. So let's see how this goes, as we do see 2 very different tech choices here in the start of Blackpink. Twilight Council from Stats versus the Stargate of Zest. Now I actually wonder if this Twilight Council might just be a Dark Shrine from Stats to really change things up, to make things a little bit more of a shocker here in these early stages. As we're just going to be seeing the Stargate obviously from Zest. I mean, against DTs, if it's an Oracle, it can actually cause some issue, and that's a really annoying pylon, because now the Adepts will commit to kill the probe, which they'll do. But it's going to take a little while to clean out the pylon. Zest had the money to expand here as well, so the Stalkers have to pull back. Nexus here from Stats generally does more so suggest a Dark Shrine, but it's going to be Blink, so Blink comes on through. Usually you can just expand and throw the Dark Shrine down. Usually you don't expand. I feel as though, like, if you go Blink, usually you take an expand then a Twilight, maybe? Maybe I'm a little bit incorrect there. I guess it makes sense. I don't know, maybe I've just convinced myself that this was going to be a Dark Shrine. But Blink, again, Stats, I mean, he showed us kind of this kind of strategy before, but it didn't really work out for him. Now, it's hard to say whether that was because of the position of the game he was in. Obviously, the Phoenix kind of addition as well, the re-addition of Phoenix to the game was an interesting choice, which made things a little bit more intriguing from the get-go too, kind of once he had that Blink up. So as we set up into this, we'll see a Robo Facility dropping down from Zest now in the main. And we are going to be seeing this Oracle of Zest coming down towards the bottom left-hand side. This Oracle going to show up and, well, try and get some damage done. I mean, in the main base there's a lot of Stalkers though, so not going to have too much success. Kills the probe at the front, which is the one that's there to kind of build a shield battery in case Adepts try to shade up, just to stop them getting into the main base. Not sure if you actually need that there if the Stalkers are all in the main, right? Because if the Adepts shade through, the Stalkers are just going to greet them and kill them. So I'm not sure if that's really a necessity. So maybe that's a small mistake. Otherwise, I mean, it's kind of an expected to kill if it is just up there waiting. Just going to be seeing a second Oracle showing up right now from Zest, so he's got the double Oracle to try and do further damage with here while going into a Robo back at home. You can't really go from Stargate into the Twilight and Blink of your own, because you're not going to have anything up in time to help defend against the Blink. You know, your own Blink's going to be so much later. Stalkers will blink in for a kill on the higher energy Oracle. That's nicely done. And as I was just saying, you know, if you try and go Twilight Council now with Zest, it's going to take so long for your Blink to come into play, versus with a Robo, your Immortal comes up very quickly enough to allow you to defend against these Stalkers. Now, losing an Oracle really sucks here, because it means that with only one Oracle, well, usually it would kind of suck because you wouldn't get damage done if there was shield batteries in the mineral lines, but the second Oracle is still around, so it is going to get damage done because there is no shield batteries. Stalker's in the natural though, so he can actually respond pretty quickly. But because the Stalkers are still at home, it just means there isn't enough units here from Stats. I kind of feel this is one of those moments where actually he could have sent all of his Stalkers across the map if he just had a shield battery in each mineral line. Because he killed the second Oracle, he should feel safe enough to do that. Then again, he runs the risk of maybe Zest makes a third Oracle to replace the one that he just lost, and then all of a sudden there is double Oracle again, and the defense of the shield barriers will not be justified. It will not, cut it. It won't be enough. I'm gonna have a blink up here from stats as a little bit of a shift micro blink, as we're gonna be seeing, well, one stalker going down so far, and there's an immortal showing up. Stats gonna dive quite far in. He can blink to the other side of the minerals, I think, to try and get some more probe kills. He might just kind of sit here and tank the immortal shot anyway. He'll blink away. I mean, it limits the immortal doing a little bit more, right? So a little bit more damage done. Good target fire, by the way. I loved it. When he had 3 stalkers left, he targeted another probe to bring it down to 1 hit, and then when 2 stalkers were left, he target fired down the 2 probes that were on low health. As this is nice though. Zest catches these stalkers to the side. Stats has lost a lot. He's lost so much here. Blinking away, Stats keeps a couple of stalkers alive, but that really is about it now. As we are going to be having the immortal count looking good, and well, Stats begins his transition out. Both of them have +1 attack upgrade on the way at a similar timing. Charge already from Stats here, and Zest is still playing without a Twilight. That's only just now coming through. Stats will have the advantage in terms of having, gateways for Archons. He's got the charge slot coming in. He's definitely ahead in that regard, but Zest will have the immortal count advantage, which can go a long way too. He has cleaned out a good amount of stalkers. If we look at the unit tab, you can see he's got like 3 immortals against 1, a couple of adepts. He has still 6 stalkers up though from Stats, is a pretty significant number. Another stalker actually just fallen here to the right hand side as Zest will be the first to come on out and to take the 3rd Nexus. So the Nexus coming down here from Zest is able to kind of be coming into position. Stats going to do the exact same. And for the first time in this PvP today, we're going to be setting up in towards a scenario where we're actually going to go a bit longer in the game. This isn't going to be ending on 2 bases. We're going to be seeing extra expansions coming up. We're going to be seeing these players pushing out into a different sort of stage of the game than what we've seen, which is always great. PvP really has been so aggressive of a matchup lately. It's this matchup which has been. It's just something that time and time again has just shown us proxy gateways, 4 gates, fast blink, DT rush. So many of these games go kind of short, and sometimes when you see a longer game it's because you have like Phoenix versus Phoenix, which is weird in itself. So it's not every day you get to see some of these PvPs going the distance in terms of ground-based armies, immortals and archons, charge lots too, upgrades in play. It's kind of like one of the lesser seen things now. Sometimes it depends which Protoss players are playing as well, because if both of them play in towards a style like this, obviously it can happen every game. But in a best of 5 or best of 3, like this one, oftentimes you do see 2 or 3 games in very early, then one of these longer games, and then maybe a weirder game where it's like Phoenix versus Phoenix or something crazy like that, because opening Stargate's a very regular thing to do. You already saw it in this series, for example, although it didn't end up in Phoenix versus Phoenix because of the exact way in which they opened on the Stargates. Well, I say all of these different bits and pieces just to kind of bring us back to this game in particular, though. The worker counts are even, the upgrades are dead even. I mean, they couldn't actually be close together. 124, okay, it's about 10 seconds behind, but I mean, in terms of StarCraft, it's pretty even, for +2 coming up in a matchup, a mirror matchup like this. Usually we do see a bit of a discrepancy in upgrades based on the exact builds, the exact timings of the forge, etc. I'm just going to be having the hallucination from Stats, trying to keep up to date with what's going on. So one thing he does lack, while there's an Oracle out for Zest, he can keep vision with these revelations. Stats doesn't have that sort of privilege. He has the hallucinations, which he has to try and move around. And you can see him getting revelated here. Means that Zest will see this army of Stats coming across. And Stats, well, what advantage does he hold? He's got Blink, and that's about it actually. He doesn't hold any other advantage right now. Zest starts at +1 shield upgrade rather than armor. Shield might help him out a little bit more. We're going to see the Warp Prism in the main base. Zealot's coming through. It's a recall from Stats. He will blink in after the Prism. Great play by Zest though. As soon as he saw that the army coming through the center, he's like, okay, Warp Prism into the main. And that's going to at the very least pull a bit of your few of your units back. Or if you commit on, you're not going to have reinforcements aggressively. You have to reinforce defensively. There's no way you're going to let my Zealots just rip apart an entire main base mineral line, the Nexus, and all the rest of that. Biggest issue now is that Warp Prism is a little bit stuck, and it might be the recall needed here to actually kind of bring that back home and to get that back in play. I can definitely imagine that happening, as we do see this Oracle coming back up towards the top side, still dropping that Revelation when it can, but this time it was kind of just on an Archon in the 3rd, and so he doesn't see the main army actually pushing across the map here. So we'll see how that develops as we see Stat's going to get himself between the natural and the third, and ooh, Zest is going to recall half his army to the natural, which means he's going to end up with a bit of a flank, but he's stuck behind pylons over here, so it's going to be a little bit messy. His Immortals and Archons are going to be a little bit kind of, well, just stuck, honestly. Those two Archons in the back do nothing at all. Warp Prism Stat to bring the Zealots fresh into the fight. Zest is going to warp in on the high ground. He's kind of winning out the low ground fight for a moment or two, but the extra Zealots turn that around. Stats has just absolutely dominated Zest in this fight. It was a nice idea from Zest to recall half of the army over to the natural, but the pylons of SimCity really hurt him there, and it just meant that actually a lot of his units didn't come into the fight at all. It's weird though, because what do you do if your opponent's already moving up into your natural? You kind of just have to see it coming sooner rather than later, and that's the issue. The Revelation wasn't there. It was the one time the Revelation wasn't in position, and that one time the Revelation wasn't in location,